The discourse community I chose was soccer, since I have been a part of it for 10 years and I have an in depth knowledge of how the game is played and the kinds of litter activities involved. When thinking of the sport, most people don't think that there's anything littered about people kicking around a ball. However, the writing they compose, reading the rule book, and writing down the player's strengths and weaknesses, and seeing their reactions are all variations of literacy that soccer players utilize every day. In order to research how these litter activities are completed throughout a soccer game, I decided to conduct a case study and two observations in order to answer my research questions, which were, what are the litter activities associated with soccer, and how can performing these things have a direct effect on personal motivation and focus for those involved? To answer the first part of the question, I conducted a case study on a soccer player. I had her write a description of the weather before and after the game to see if there were any significant differences between the two. Then, I also performed two observations in order to answer the second part of my question. The first observation was that of the coaches as they took notes on the players' strengths and weaknesses, which is on this paper. You can see he wrote down each player and he wrote little notes about each of them to see how they were doing in the game, what they could do better, and that sort of thing. I wanted to see what kinds of things they wrote down and how they delivered such notes to the players. Then, for my second observation, I watched the players' reactions and mannerisms to the criticism that the coaches told them. After all of my data was collected, I gathered that after a soccer game was completed, the writing from the case study had changed significantly. The vocabulary changed from simplistic to complex, starting with words such as nice and slight breeze, to extremely tolerable and excruciating. Then, during the first observation, I noticed that the coaches tried to hide the negative complaints in between the compliments as to not make the players feel bad. For example, when the coach wrote down notes on Rachel, a midfielder, he started off by saying that she had great passing, then went on to say that she needed to work on teamwork. Then, while watching the teammates' faces as the criticism was spoken, you could see a drastic change in facial features after a negative note was said, as well as when something positive was spoken. For example, when the first coach told Lauren to work on her passing, she showed a look of disappointment. However, when he went on to say that she had good scoring and good energy, it was noticeable that she was relieved as her shoulders got less tense and her face lit up. This showed that soccer does have an effect on the player's behavior and writing. In conclusion, my main claim was proven true through my research and data collected, that soccer does indeed have an impact on players' behavior and their writing composed. However, you can also use said research for any sport discourse since most are high intensity and would have the same results. All you have to do is translate the types of litter activities to fit the sport. Although the subjects used for this study were girls between the ages of 16 and 18, and the two coaches were men between the ages of 35 and 40, thus, if you were to repeat the research, the results could be different depending on the participants, so you can't really generalize what I have come up with to what someone else may do if they repeat the same type of study.